so the webinar has been started. Let's wait for the participants to join in. Okay, so we have participants joining in. Hello, guys. I hope you all are having an amazing time at Amplify. We are here with the new session, and I'm very excited for you all to go with this session. It's going to be super helpful, super insightful, and we have the great Murivot with us, who's the owner and principal trainer at the RPM training. And today he's going to be talking about the foundations of booking the next appointment, which is like super important for everyone who's in the business. So without wasting any other second, Murray, over to you. Good luck.
Thank you, Kanita. I don't know if I've ever been introduced as the great Murray Voth before, so thank you. That's amazing. This is amazing to participate with you guys. So when it comes to booking the next appointment, this seems to be a process or a system that a lot of shop owners really resist implementing, or they find challenging for their staff to implement. And so I'm going to be approaching the foundations of booking the next appointment from a bit of a different point of view. A lot of times when we understand how we feel about how we're served and project that onto our clients, I think we can then understand the reason why booking the next appointment is important, at least for a significant segment of your client base. So when we talk about booking the next appointment, how many of you have your gal or your guy that you use for different services or products in your life, right? That person that you go to, right? You have your barber, you have your butcher, you have your plumber, electrician, hairdresser, dog groomer. Maybe those two shouldn't be right next to each other on a slide. Your veterinarian, nail technician, chiropractor, physiotherapist, accountant, lawyer, dentist, right? I have one of those in my life for all of those things, right? They're my gal or my guy that I go to. Are you loyal to these people that you have? And I'm going to assume, because we're not as interactive as maybe we can be sometimes, and I'm hoping that we can do a bit of Q&A at the end here, I'm going to imagine that you're pretty loyal to these people. These are kind of rhetorical questions. How long have you been with each of these people? I was doing a session with some of our clients. We were talking about this concept, and one of the shop owners has been going to her hairdresser for 16 years. That is a significant period of time. The question is why are you loyal to them, right? We can do a deep dive into that. I'm going to leave that question with you to think about, but you're probably loyal to them because they serve you the way you need to be served, want to be served. Your personalities click, and the experience that you have with them is the one that you're comfortable with. Are you loyal to your accountant? Have you ever cheated on any of these service providers? I confessed to her, my barber, I was traveling and couldn't make it for my regular appointment, and I was going to be presenting in an event, and my hair was really getting unruly. So I pulled into a barber in another place of the country just to get a trim so I was a bit more presentable, right? But other than that, I felt bad doing that. But other than that, right, we generally stay with these people. If you stop being loyal, what is the reason why you stop being loyal? In some cases, the person changes at the service provider that you usually have. Maybe they've moved location and they're further away. Many times they've sold the business or they've retired, or maybe they made a serious mistake or a blunder or something like that where you moved on. But I'm going to tell you, it's not always a negative thing. A lot of times we change to something that we like better. A lot of times shop owners are worried about one-star reviews and when their team makes a mistake and they lose a client. When in reality, I think we lose a lot more clients because they find something better than because of something that we messed up. Now, again, this is a rhetorical question, kind of a dumb question, but how many of you wished your clients would be more loyal? I'm sure all the hands in the room are going to go up. Does it seem like loyalty to your business or to business in general is in a decline? And talking to my clients, they feel that it is. I did some research on this, and in our Western societies, there seems to be a decline in loyalty to businesses. So I've done some research to find out why consumers are less loyal today than maybe they were in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, back in the day when I had my service stations. So number one, increased competition. Internet, e-commerce have provided a lot of choices to people that they may not have had 20 years ago. So I'm going to give you some quick solutions. We are still a referral business. There's been a lot of research done recently on how people choose an automotive shop. And yes, they use the internet, but it's interesting to find out that 40% of car owners in North America go to the internet first, and then they check with friends and family. 40% go to friends and family first, and then they check the internet, and only 20% actually just use the internet exclusively to find a shop. So your clients are talking to each other, all right? So another solution, whenever anybody new comes to your shop, somewhere in that early part of the conversation, after you've greeted them, thanked them, checked in with them, what their needs are, ask them as a new client to your shop, who referred them to you. Now, they may say, I found you on Google. They may say, I found you on Facebook, or I heard your radio ad, or I read your newspaper ad. This is a good way to track what marketing is working and not working. But by using that language, you're implying that you're a referral business. And of course, if they say, my friend or my neighbor or my coworker referred me, confirm who that person is, make sure you have their contact info, and then send a thank you to the person already in your database that referred these people. The people are always asking me for a good referral program. This is a very simple one. It's a slower version of it. Handing out coupons and oil changes and back and forth and stuff like that really does not really engage a lot of the best clients. But if you send somebody a handwritten thank you card, it's really impactful. How many people are actually getting handwritten mail in this day and age? Second reason is that there's a market saturation in many industries, which means that it's harder for businesses to differentiate themselves. Now, I'm going to say, in what I call the consultative service-based car repair, where you act as a professional, where you act like you're a doctor, a dentist, an accountant, or a lawyer, or an electrician, there is no saturation because there's not that many shops in North America doing it really, really well. Every time a shop that I work with implements better practices and gets better at how they do things, they attract a lot of clientele by word of mouth because they're hearing from their friends and neighbors of the great experience they have at your shop. Now, there is saturation in what I call the commodity price-based market. Franchises, chain stores, and people that use coupons to attract customers to their shop. That world is saturated. If you look at the Google AdWords search research, oil change is one of the most common words that people are bidding on, when in reality, it's one of our lowest priced or lowest profitability items that we could actually sell. So the idea here is to continue to learn best practices. Of course, this is chapter of this course, along with all of the other great courses a part of Amplify, are going to give you what we call these best practices. And again, another solution is stay in the right game, focus on the best clients. Empowered and informed consumers. They have access to a lot of data and information on online reviews, social media, and websites. They are more discerning, and they expect more transparency from businesses. And that is where we can win, by being transparent, by being accurate. Have accurate, useful, and interesting information on your website, blog posts, social media, and your newsletters. Information that is useful and helpful to people. Also, things like, do you have instruction videos that you have on YouTube that you share on your different social media posts on how to use the after hours drop-off box, or the fact that you actually have a after hours pickup ability to lock keys into a lockbox. I have some clients now that are in tough locations to find in terms of where the shop is in the middle of a complex of industrial condos. They've actually gone out in a car, in their shuttle car, with a GoPro camera, and they have videotaped how to get to their shop from 4 key intersections of their city. So if you're coming from this way, follow this. If you're coming from this way, follow that. And they have these recordings on YouTube linked in their website. If a service advisor has somebody on the phone that says, hey, how do I find your place? They can send them a link to the video. Now, I know that we have Google, we have our smartphones, we have things that tell us how to get where and when and stuff like that. But for a lot of people, the visual effect of a video showing them how to get there is actually really cool. I mean, how many of you actually have a website, a video like that on your website? Number 4, price sensitivity can be a factor, especially in economically uncertain climate. Some consumers prioritize price over brand loyalty. And of course, the ease of price comparison online really makes this trend worse. Now, of course, a lot of us, if you're listening to the news, we're facing a lot of uncertain times, and you could sense and feel that there is a segment of the driving public that is going to be more price conscious, right? Now, folks, all of us, for the most part, are trying to manage our money, live within our means. And if we can save $1, why not save $1? But we will also spend money if we get the right experience, if we get the right value, if we understand the value that we're spending it on. So prior to this current round of uncertainty in our economy, generally of the driving public, 30% are price conscious / financially challenged, or what I call pathologically frugal or cheap. And 70% of people generally will spend money on their cars to a certain degree, right? Some will do more than others. So at the end of the day, not everyone is going to be price conscious. They're looking at value that way. So one of the solutions, and of course, this is probably a whole nother course in itself, always be talking about your unique value proposition. This is when you meet people, when you're booking the appointment, when people are picking up their car. If you wash and vacuum the vehicles after you service them, talk about that in your social media, talk about that with your client. If you have a shuttle, if you have courtesy vehicles, right? Talk about the value of the warranty, the parts and service warranty, parts and labor warranty that you offer. Talk about that. At the end of the transaction, when they're picking up their car, go through what you did today. Show them this is what we did, this is what we did in response to what their concerns were or what your technicians identified. Remember, we have to make sure that as a professional shop, we are a do-it-for-me shop, not a shop that supports do-it-yourselfers or enthusiasts. For a lot of you who are technicians turned shop owners who love cars and are vehicle enthusiasts, it's very easy for you to attract vehicle enthusiasts to your shop. These are people who generally work on their car to a certain degree, to their skill level. There's our people that search for parts online. And of course, for them to come to you is not a right comparison. That is like, and I'm sure most of you, I'm sure there's exceptions, know how to cook to some degree. I do a lot of cooking in our home, but I never, ever walk into a restaurant asking to use their kitchen and to bring my own food into a restaurant. It's totally socially unacceptable, plus health regulation unacceptable for me to do that. Yet we as shop owners fall prey to these enthusiasts and do-it-yourselfers. Now, here is a response from a great client of mine to a 1-star review. The 1-star review: this shop will not quote on labor only or install customer supplied parts, will insist on charging for diagnostics in all situations, not DIY friendly. Now, this is the owner's response. I mean, I am so proud of this guy, Ryan. Thank you for the excellent review. You're 100% accurate. He's agreeing with the 1-star. We are a full do-it-for-you shop. We have some customers that tackle repairs and services on their own vehicle, but when they feel like a repair is beyond their abilities, they call us. We then diagnose and repair the cause of the concern and then provide a 2-year, 35,000 kilometer, 20,000 mile warranty, nationwide warranty, parts and labor. Allowing customers to supply parts almost never goes smoothly, and the customer rarely saves any money by the time things are done properly. If you would like to discuss further, please call me at this number. The review was taken down after a month. Luckily, I got a screenshot of it. Folks, take a stand for the type of business and the type of shop that you are. Now, there's changing consumer expectations. People are expecting a more personalized experience. They're expecting a more seamless online and offline interaction. And there's more of a tendency towards immediate gratification. Now, we would have to clarify that one a little bit when it comes to car repair, but I'm going to give you some solutions. Now, notice the phrase below that. Failure to meet these expectations can quickly lead to customer defection. They're not leaving because you made a mistake. They're leaving because they found what they want somewhere else, what they haven't experienced. So here's the solutions with a bit of an introduction. There is a lost service revenue at new car dealers in the United States is estimated at $266 billion of opportunity being lost. Now, the research shows of this report that it wasn't for lack of convenient locations. There's enough locations. It's not actually about the cost of the maintenance and repairs for most people. It is, believe it or not, and this one surprised me, it's not the fear of being overcharged for repairs. What they're frustrated with is the lack of transparency of understanding what it is they're paying for. Consumers will travel a distance to buy a car, so they might drive 2 or 3 hours from one city to another to get a good deal on a new car or a used car, but they will generally not travel for service. They want to be as close to where they live or as close to where they work as possible. However, 60% of consumers will drive further for enhanced services, and 54% will pay more for enhanced services, and they would be willing to consent to pay for more upfront and actually, taking deposits for parts and tires and things like that. So what is enhanced service? Number one, the ability to make an online appointment request. Both your website and your Google Business Profile should have a place where people can click on and make an appointment request. They're not accessing your scheduler. They're not placing themselves at 2 p.m. on Thursday. They're just saying, I have this car, I have this concern, and this is when I'd like to bring it in. And then you respond to the email that comes into your system and you set up the appointment. The reason for this is people are busy. They try to call you during the day and they can't get through. They get put on hold. They're in meetings. They get through their day. They had dinner. They sit down in front of the TV at night and they go, oh, shoot, I forgot to book my car in again. And now they can't phone you. But if you have an online presence to choose an appointment request, they will go there and do that. Apparently, close to 20% of online appointments now are made after hours, right? People have gone through their day, they've relaxed, their brains are sort of catching up with their bodies, and now they begin to look after a few other ideas on their to-do list. Secondly, the ability to review and approve estimates electronically, sending estimates via text or via email. Most importantly of all of these, I think, is the video and photographic evidence of recommended repairs and services. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? And those of you that are using DVI, it's important to use the arrows and the circles that are required to make people understand a little better what they need. Number 4, having a ride sharing or a courtesy vehicles, Uber for Business, getting an Uber for Business account. Now, some of you in smaller communities and smaller towns, there might be a little bit limited resources, but these are things that people are looking for. Number 5, valet customer or vehicle service. So in other words, this is me coming to your house and picking up your car, or me dropping off a courtesy car and picking up yours and then swapping it out later on in the day that way. I know of a shop that I coach right now that picks up 70% of their clients' vehicles every morning. Between the shuttle drivers and the technicians, all the technicians do their initial test drive. Most of their clients are within 10 minutes to 12 minutes of the shop. And then clients generally make arrangements to come and pick up their car at the end of the day. However, they do have a shuttle that can pick them up. People are busy. They don't want to sit and wait at your shop. Or at least the kind of clients that you want are ones that are busy working, generating revenue for their companies and for their businesses and for their families. They don't want to wait around for something. They think they have to because that's the only choice they have. But the minute they find out that you pick up and deliver, they're all over it. And number 6, the ability for online payment, right? Where you send me my invoice and I can do it with Google Pay, Apple Pay, or some other digital way of paying through my smart device. Poor customer experiences is another reason for less loyalty, because the inconsistent quality, frustrating online reactions, etc. Of course, social media amplifies the impact of negative experiences as they can be shared widely. But I have to tell you guys, currently, right now, if you acknowledge people, if you answer your phones, if you have digital systems in place, and you are consistent in your offering, you are already going to be 5 times better than most aftermarket shops and most dealers. You would not believe the stories that I hear out in the marketplace of bad experiences people are having at both the new car dealers and the aftermarket shops. Just be consistent. Make sure that you keep in contact with people, and clearly say what you do and do what you say. If you say that you're going to do something, do it. If you do something, then talk about the fact that you did it, right? Make them raving fans, and that is really the way to deal and reduce and eliminate poor client experiences. Number 7, lack of emotional connection. This has always been a challenge in any business, right? Where if you just make it about the transaction, if you just make it about the money for the service or the money for the item, that is called a transactional relationship, rather than building emotional connections with their customers. If you think about my first list, right? I walk into the butcher shop and I say Tony, and I see Susan, and I see some of the staff, right? I talk to my accountant first name basis. I talk to my barber, who's now on maternity leave. So now I'm going to have to either sit in her dad's chair, or I'm going to have to go find another barber for a few months, right? But generally, there's a first name basis. There's a relationship. Ava, she knows about my grandkids. She knows about my dog. She remembers some of the trips that I've taken on when I show up, month after month. She remembers, hey, last time you talked to me, you were doing a course in Vegas at Apex or something like that, right? So something that I learned from a fellow by the name of John DeJulius III. He's written several great books. One of them is called The Customer Service Revolution. He talks about the FORD acronym. F stands for friends and family, O stands for occupation, R stands for recreation, and D stands for dreams and desires. So as you are dealing with your clients, whether it's over the phone, digitally, or in person, if they mention anything to do with any of these things, make a mental note or a note in the software so that you remember it coming up at a later visit or later on in that day. All right. Somebody says that they're going to need the car by 2:00 in the afternoon because they have to pick up the grandkids today because there was nobody else from daycare able to pick them up. Right. So then you actually know that these people have grandkids, and you can document that. That would just be one example of tracking this. Number 8, of course, we have the influence of social media. It has amplified the voice of the consumer. Negative reviews can spread faster. And of course, consumers are influenced by a lot of online trends. But I got to tell you, folks, we're still humans, and people still can get to know, like, and trust you through the internet. All right. So, pardon me. Number 1, be involved. Ask for reviews. Respond to all reviews. Interact with people who interact with you on your social media. Don't just do stuff for yourself. Interact with other people. Congratulate them on their weddings. Congratulate them on the births of a child. Congratulate them on a job promotion, right? Interact with them the way you would interact with somebody if you bumped into them at the coffee shop or at the mall. Make sure that you are posting accurate information. Make sure that you've researched the stuff that you are posting, that it's accurate, and that you are not spreading inaccurate information about car repair and things like that. Make videos of work done poorly and work done properly. And I'm going to show you an example of that here shortly. And the other idea is to make some posts that give people a point of reference. There can be this negative connotation about bringing my vehicle in for car repair, how much it costs me and I can't afford it and things like that. Well, I did the math on, if I go out for a fast food lunch every working day of a year for $15, that's $3,650 a year I'm spending on lunch. If I start making my own sandwiches or some other form of leftovers or something like that, I actually, if you subtract the food costs of making it at home, I probably have $2,500 or more to play with, right? The idea that you talk about, what does it cost a year to drink a coffee? What does it cost a year to have a mani-pedi every month? What does it cost a year to do this or to do that? I'm not suggesting that we're being judgmental about how people spend their money, but we're giving them a perspective that generally on a car that's 4 to 7 years old is around $2,500 a year to keep it up and running properly. An older car is going to be $3,000 to $4,000 a year, but that's so much less money than car payments that people get themselves into. And then, here's the picture I was going to show you of what we in Canada call a pad slap, right? We just leave the rotor on there, even though we see that it's got some gouging on it. The customer wants a cheap brake job, so we throw we throw a pair of pads on and let it out the door. Now, a lot of shops, of course, would not do that, but the idea is to bring a vehicle in and do a pretend pad slap brake job, and then do a video of this kind of a brake job and how nicely it's done and how you bead blast the caliper holders and the rest of it, and how clean and beautiful that brake job looks relative to the other one. Give people a comparison, because when they're calling around for brake job pricing, or when they're looking around for to save some money, they don't know what they're comparing to. They're just looking at something that's $200 at one shop and $450 at the other shop, and they don't understand the difference that's going in between those two brake jobs. Besides the fact that the one on the left probably has dirt floors in the shop, the vehicle probably leaves with fingerprints all over the steering wheel and things like that. Whereas the one on the right probably had a courtesy car while they had their car in the shop, and chances are the vehicle was washed and vacuumed before they picked it up, right? So there's differences that we can communicate to people. Number 9, lack of consistent database management and retention. So many shop owners rely primarily on external marketing, right? What's working today? I see on all the forums on Facebook. What are you guys doing to get more car count? What are you guys doing to get new customers? When there's a huge opportunity to work with your existing database. Now, I'm not saying we don't do external marketing. Of course, we need to do external marketing. But folks, how many new people are coming in the front door, and how many people are going out the back door without us tracking this? So let me give you some ideas that we work with our coaching clients. Number 1, in your software, find out how to measure your active customer list. Generally, most software uses a 1-year window, 365-day window of the number of people that have been in, individual, like not multiple visits, just have been in that year. And then compare that from month to month. Do a report from January, do a report from February, and see, is your active customer list growing or shrinking? It could be that it's shrinking even though you're getting new customers, because maybe you're losing old customers faster than you're gaining new ones. Measure your new customers monthly. They need to be at least 12% of the number of invoices in a month. So if you have 100 invoices in a month, you need to have had 12 new clients in that period of time. If it's 200, you need to have 24, because we generally lose about 10% of our database, generally for reasons beyond our control, and we need between 11 and 12% for health and for growth. In your software, measure the number of one-time only customers as a percentage. Of all the invoices in a period of time, a month, a quarter, a year, how many people only came in one time and never came back again? Little hint, folks. Choose software that can help you with all this stuff, right? Why are these people not coming back? And think about that. And number 4, this now is starting to lead into booking the next appointment, is we're going to create a reservation mindset. And let me explain what I mean by that. Actually, I have some more rhetorical questions for you before I explain what I mean by a reservationist concept, all right? So in a live setting, of course, I would look for a show of hands here, but hint, hint, how many of you use a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar or a digital calendar on your phone to run your lives? I'm going to suggest in the automotive world, a lot of technician turned owners probably do not, even though the best kind of clients you want probably do. How many of you don't like being told when and where to be? How many of you resist being reminded of something that you needed to do? How many of you just like to go with the flow, right? this is kind of describing a lot of technician owners, generally male, males, that have this attitude of not liking to be bossed around by somebody in their life. All right, little sarcasm there. But let's turn the tables. How many of you have forgotten an appointment? I'm going to say, yes, I have. How many of you have forgotten to file a report, a claim, or a tax filing? I think all of us have done that at least once in our lives. How many of you wished that someone had reminded you and walked you through it? Again, chances are a lot of our hands are going up at this point going, yeah, that would have been nice if somebody would have helped me with that. So here's a few more questions. What percentage of the vehicles that come in for service and repair are overdue for service, are overdue for oil changes? Have you researched that, right? Of the 200 cars that came in this month, one of the first pictures you should be taking is of the window sticker, the reminder sticker, and checking to see how many vehicles are overdue. They might be in for a brake job, they might be in for a check engine light or for air conditioning or for some other service, but why are they overdue for service? How many clients go somewhere else for an oil change or a service because they are overdue and are too embarrassed to come to you? Folks, this is a thing. You might see a client come in for a brake job or something else and see a window sticker for a fast lube location in their window, and you think they've been cheating on you. Well, they have been cheating on you, but the reason that you're thinking it is not because of your price or not because of your schedule or your calendar. It's because they went miles and kilometers past that service and they're too embarrassed to come back to you for that. So they went somewhere else that didn't know them. Now, I know I'm speaking to a broad audience here from all geographies, but there's a lot of the audience is going to be involved in winter tire and summer tire changeover season. All right. For those of you in the warmer climates, there's probably some other triggers when weather changes that can be maybe similar that we could adapt to that. In the meantime, bear with me while we go through what some people jokingly call in Canada the goat rodeo, that is a seasonal tire changeover. All right. So this is the reservationist idea. How many of you have experienced priority service when you travel or go out for dinner, right? If you travel a lot, like some of us do, you probably have different membership statuses with different airlines and different hotels and stuff like that. What does it feel like to be brought in ahead of other people because of that status? All right. Now think about this. Hotel inventory. They have 100 rooms that they need to sell every day. And of course, the pricing is going to be very different, right? They're going to have it online for a certain amount of pricing. They're going to sell a bunch to hotels.com. They're going to have other places where there are other people are doing it. But at the end of the day, they have a blended amount of money, of rooms that they've sold for different prices. Airlines are the same way. So when they use status programs with these companies, part of that is to make sure that they're filling up the airplane and they're filling up the hotel with regular visitors. So they give us benefits. They give us points. They give us a complimentary bottle of water. They might include a nice free breakfast for our loyalty. But what does that do? That makes me come back as a regular. They're treating me as a regular. So we need to begin to think about the next appointment as a way of treating people that are part of an advanced club. They get special treatment. You too have inventory. 3 technicians, 8 hours a day is 24 hours a day of inventory that disappears every day if you don't sell it. So when it comes to your changeovers, now we're in spring, obviously. We will be talking about putting summer tires on. Map out your day, week, month, and year. Start with the tires that you store. This is a captive audience. You must have a spreadsheet or something of all these people. They should have been contacted already in March. Then move on to the regular clients who have stored their own tires. Then maybe using a Google Calendar, make a hypothetical schedule of all of those cars, and you will be shocked to find out how many appointments it's actually going to take to get all of those people done within that time frame. So early in each of the seasons, start contacting all of those clients to offer reservations for their changeovers. Starting in September the 1st for the fall and starting early March in the spring, to do that. Now, those of you in the hotter climates, chances are a common problem is batteries, right? The heat of the Arizona desert is really hard on batteries. Maybe it's time for a hot season service to get people in to make sure that, air conditioning would probably be another great common trigger. Rather than waiting for people to come in with an air conditioning problem, put out some marketing about getting your air conditioning in your car ready for the hot weather, right? Would be a similar thing. Now, something that I learned recently with this tire changeover piece is book clients by the mileage that they drive. A lot of people don't want to come in too soon in the fall or come in too late in the summer, because then they're driving on their winter tires and they feel like that's going to waste a lot of money. But if you bring in the people that drive the least mileage, they're going to put very low mileage on those vehicles. So for example, your senior citizens probably maybe drive 3,000 miles in a year. If you book them in on September the 15th, and they don't have any snow for a month and a half, what are they going to drive? 500 miles in that period of time? They're going to do negligible wear on those winter tires. When firming up the reservation, look for deferred work. Now, again, you're not going to look for timing chains and major suspension work, but look for things like oil changes, air filters, cabin air filters, and other basic services that you can add to that appointment. Talking with one of my best clients a couple of days ago, he's in the middle of spring tire changeover now. He allows 2.5 hours per visit, because they're not just taking off the winters and putting on the summers. They're literally doing a maintenance service, oil change, filters, and other services that have been deferred from the past. And so these people are leaving with a well-maintained vehicle, and the shop is gathering a very nice average repair order compared to the $80 that just a changeover might be. Vehicles should be booked in for what they're due for, not just for an oil change. All right. So we need to talk a little bit about reducing the number of standalone oil changes, and I'll see if I get to that by the end of my slides here as I go through this material. So another thing to do with booking the next appointment with your tires is starting this season already. In fact, if this is a new concept to you, start tomorrow. Every single client that comes in for their changeover now, book them 6 months from now in the fall, and tell them that you are setting some time aside next fall for their winter changeover. Now, we don't know what the weather's going to be like, what their schedule is going to be like. So what you do is you book them in on the Sunday of the week that's 6 months away, and then you tell the client that you're going to be contacting them a couple of weeks ahead to firm up that reservation, right? Setting time aside for them. That makes them feel special that you are making a reservation for them. Now they feel like they're part of a senior club with benefits for their loyalty, right? Another piece of information here, research done, is at least in Canada, the 4 to 7 year old vehicles in the marketplace, 60% of those are going to the new car dealers, 20% are going to the aftermarket, and 20% are going to both the dealer and the aftermarket. Now, the interesting thing about the latter people is that they go to the dealer for the major work, and they go to the aftermarket for tire changeovers and oil changes, because the dealers are usually too busy for that. So we have to understand that this is an opportunity to grab people away from the dealer, but also to realize that people are cheating on their regular shop or their regular dealership because you're known for your speedy service with changeovers. So another great tool that leads towards great booking the next appointment is having something to book it in for. Too many people think booking the next appointment is for an oil change. At the end of the day, it's for whatever that vehicle needs. So I teach the deferred work cycle. This is, of course, a whole course on its own, but here's a quick summary. Every vehicle gets some form of inspection every visit. It could be a 20-point complimentary. It could be a 50-point maintenance service. It could be a 150-point bumper-to-bumper inspection, but some form of inspection, preferably done digitally, of course. 100% of everything identified by the technician, including maintenance, is estimated by the advisors. 100% of everything is estimated is presented to the client. Now, you present this to them kindly. You don't hit them over the head with a sledgehammer, right? You talk about the priorities on a dollar value and the rest without a dollar value, but you have the dollar value ready in case they're interested in getting the rest done. And then lastly, everything that is not purchased is deferred to a future date. All right. And that's the stuff that we have for booking the next appointment. All right. So when it comes to booking the next appointment. Let me go backwards in the slide for a second. All right. So Kanita has brought her vehicle in because there's a brake noise. And she also is due for a maintenance service, which is my term for an oil change. All right, which we're going to do an inspection. So we get her approval to inspect the brakes and do the service. After we've done that, we get back to her, say, a little bit later on in the morning, and we tell her about her brakes and how important that is to do, and we get her permission to do those. And then I talk about a couple of other maintenance items that are not due now, but would be due in the near future. And I mentioned to her that based on her driving habits, that would look like we would need to have her in about a month for those other services, and that we're going to have an appointment for her. At that point, at the end of the day, when she picks up her car, I remind her about that appointment and the fact that we're going to be using digital technology to stay in touch, to remind her about how that is going to work. All right. So now when it comes to booking the next appointment, what I talked about earlier at the beginning, the challenges with implementing it is because a lot of shop owners and people from technical backgrounds do not usually live as organized as maybe some other professionals do. Just an observation, right? I come from the industry. But let's work with that. All right. The level one, the best way to start is to offer a reservation for the deferred work or for the next maintenance service, the next oil change, right? Depends on what the circumstances are. Now, in this case, I would start with all of the clients that I notice use a day timer or use their phones or use their calendar. The people that you know that as by observation that do that when they pick up and drop off their car, they tend to use a calendar for everything that they do. These are the first people that I would approach with booking that appointment, right? If you feel a bit insecure that you're being pushy or something like that, don't worry about it. These people are going to appreciate it because that's how they live. They love to have everything pre-booked, all right? Now, keep working at that. Imagine having 15% of your appointments pre-booked 4 months from now, and imagine having 40% of your appointments pre-booked a year from now. Imagine how much better that would be for your business, right? So we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for working with an elite group of clients and doing that, all right? Now, another place is if the client seems to give a little bit of resistance to that next appointment because maybe it's a brand new concept to them or maybe they just misunderstood how you presented it. There's a second level of what you can do. I'm going to tell Kanita. So Kanita says, you know what, Murray, I'm just way too busy. I don't know about that date you're giving me. And she sort of is giving me this vibe that maybe, that appointment's going to stress her out. So what I changed with her is I say, hey, listen, I'm going to put a reminder in my software based on your driving habits. And if it's okay with you, I'll follow up with you via an email or a text just to see if you've been driving the car that amount and to see what your calendar is like at that point. And at that point, I can set some time aside and book you in. All right. So it's kind of a bit of a softer touch of the next appointment, and people appreciate that. But here's the fun part. Shops will do this level 2 version of it. And as they have success in tracking the way customers drive, a lot of clients are like, oh my goodness, you are just like within a day, you're within a week of that mileage that we talked about. I can't believe that. You know what? If you're that accurate, just look after it for me and I'll book my appointment in whenever you tell me to bring it in, right? So they begin to buy into it. Now, it's very possible, and there's going to be a small segment of your database is, nope, they don't want that next appointment. They're going to look after things themselves, and that's fine. Acknowledge that the fact that they want to look after it, right? Say that that's great. Just, as a reminder, you know how hard it is to get in here sometimes. Just make sure that you reach out far enough in advance to get a reservation, right? So what you're doing is you're creating a sense of urgency by that last one, right? Now, another thing that happens is the level 3 type clients, who are the ones that generally don't seem to accept or want the next appointment, will actually begin to accept it when they hear conversations with clients that actually have that service. They begin to realize that they've been left out of a priority or of a reservation system, right? By doing that, especially if they phone and they can't get their vehicle in a timely manner that matches their schedule. So here's a few hints, all right? Use people that use day planners and digital calendars. Tie the reservation to courtesy cars, valet service, or other modes of alternative transportation. If you have other alternative modes of transportation, tell people that the only way to get the alternative transportation is if they pre-book their appointment. At that point, they have the good experience along with the time set aside by that shop to look after them. To receive the best service at my shop means making a reservation, right? Good restaurants have taught us that in order to have the best experience, we need to make reservations. In order to get a seat on an airplane, we have to make reservations. In order to get a hotel room, we need to make reservations. And this is where we want to create the reservationist style of business and create a culture that does that. And then I believe your clientele will want to buy into that because they're going to want to be part of something that is that professional. Right? If you don't want to make a reservation, we may not be able to fit you in, or you may need to wait. Just as people like to earn status with airlines and hotels, we can create a culture that imparts status on clients who make reservations for the deferred work and next services. All of these folks made reservations for their changeovers. This is your winter tire or your summer tire changeover 6 months ago. How can I join that club, right? Getting that idea that it's a club that I need to join. So imagine a world where you are 50% booked, and then the rest of the time you can easily sell to new clients, breakdowns, additional repairs identified, or other fleet and commercial business. By creating a culture of reservations, we teach our clients that just like other professionals, our time is valuable, and we will not tolerate those who do not respect our time. Remember, folks, respect is earned, not demanded. Loyalty is earned, not demanded. We would never not show up to a doctor's appointment or an accountant's appointment without some very, very good reason and some notification. Other businesses, other trades and or things like chiropractors and physiotherapists actually charge you when you don't show up, right? And people have asked me, when will we in the automotive world be able to do that? And I always say, when we've earned the right to do that. All of those other professions have earned the right to charge us when we do not show up. We're way too casual the way we run our shops, and the more professional we become, we will earn this kind of loyalty that we've talked about. So thanks, everybody. I think we have a little bit of time for Q&A. And I think, Kanita, you're probably going to be the one helping me with that, right?
Yes, 100%. First of all, what an amazing session, honestly. Thank you so much for all these insights. And I'm pretty sure everyone had fun and everyone enjoyed. I was continuously auditing the Q&A. Right now, we don't really have any questions, but Jimmy Lee has been really fanning over your entire session. He has agreed to a lot of things. And I think he did mention, oh, let Murray keep rocking the R. He's doing a great job.
Yeah. Thanks, Jimmy Lee. Always great to chat with you. I'm hoping to see you at Apex this year. So I don't know if we'll see each other sooner. That's great. That was the only question so far, Kanita.
Yeah, that's it. That's okay. Wait, let me
Okay.
see there. I see there's a notification. Okay, Jimmy Lee says he's a fan of Murray.
All right, buddy. I'm a fan of Jimmy as well. So awesome, Kanita.
Love the brotherhood, guys. Loving the brotherhood. We don't have any questions at the moment. However, if there's any question in the future, they can still leave us the questions, Murray, and we can email you them, and then you can always
Yes.
respond to them through your email.
I'd be very happy to. Just a little note: I'm doing a lot of traveling this week and next week, so my responses will probably be a little bit slow, but we'll get back to you guys. Okay. All right.
100%. Thank you so much, Murray, honestly, and I'll see you in your next session.
All right. Looking forward to it. Take care.
Take care. Just a note, guys, our entertainment break is going to be starting really soon. So I would love all of you to head over there. We have a really exciting game also happening there. And if you win, of course, you also win some really exciting prizes. So cheers, everyone. See you guys all soon.
All right.
Bye-bye. Take care.